Jake Paul versus Askren. What do you think about that?
When it got booked, I thought Ben Askren was going to get his ass kicked initially. But in no world is Ben Askren a great striker.
Yeah.
And I think Ben would tell you the same thing. And then you watch Jake Paul knock out kind of some of these no-name guys that don't really have any business being in there. You're like, well, I mean, he's at least doing it right. Like, he's actually training and seems that he's really putting the work in. Like, we can argue all day about any of his, so-called accomplishments, but at least he's trying. It's kind of the same argument I had with CM Punk. Like, everyone kind of shit all over him, but it was like, man, the dude's trying. Like, he's actually putting the work in. He's doing the best he can. That's all I can really ask for. Like, I'm not expecting him to be good, but he's playing the part. He's doing the things the right way, and that's kind of how I felt about Jake. But then he's kind of put out these training videos, and I never really watched him. I just kind of watched him fight. Then I watch him train. I'm like, wow, he's really not that good.
Yeah.
And like, Ben's really not that good either. So it'd probably be a pretty close fight. And then I seen the press conference. And you can tell a lot from press conferences. Ben was very comfortable and very, I don't know, kind of been here, done that. This is kind of my, I'm here in the fight game. And I hadn't been too critical of Jake Paul too much. He was like, if people want to fight, let them fight. Like, I think everyone deserves the right to get punched in the face if that's what they really want to do. So, but then seeing Jake Paul very uncomfortable, very machismo, trying to be the tough guy, but like really not rattling Ben at all. And it was very uncomfortable for him seemingly. And then some of the things that he said, like, Ben would start to talk and he would say, this is the fight game. And I was just thinking, who are you to tell Ben Askren about the fight game?
Yeah.
It was like the first time he got really silly and stupid. Ben kind of face palmed him, and like, Jake was very uncomfortable. Like, he didn't
know what to do.
Like that. He didn't know what to do. Like, you see two fighters and one pushes the other. They typically, it's almost like a snake recoils. You get pushed and you're snapping right back. He kind of got lost and fumbled around a little bit and kind of slapped Ben in the, the butt kind of. And that was when I was like, you know what? Ben Askren might beat his ass.
Yeah.
Just off of just tough guy shit, like Ben just might old man push him around and just beat him up like, like a school kid. But I was very bothered by how Jake Paul spoke to Ben Askren. It really, really bothered me. I'm not some soft guy that,
right.
That can't handle some trash talk, but I feel like if you're a guy like Jake Paul and you're sitting in a room with Ben Askren, that's a man you respect.
Yeah.
Like, I think in terms of the UFC, like, I've accomplished more than Ben Askren. I've won more fights. I've done a lot more in the UFC. Not so much in combat sports. Obviously, he's a multiple-time world champion, incredible wrestler, but like in the UFC. And when Ben Askren walks in, it's one of those things where you're very respectful, shake his hand. You kind of let Ben Askren have kind of rule. He rules the roost a little bit because I just respect him.
Yeah.
I respect what he's done. I just respect his wrestling game. The time he's put in the sport, the amount of fights he went undefeated. So like, if a guy like me backs up and if Ben Askren walks through, I will back up and let him walk in front of me.
Yeah.
Like, I'll get out of his way.
Right.
So for me to feel like that with Ben Askren, to see, this nerdy kid, Jake Paul, kind of just disrespect him, really, really bothered me.
Yeah. And the thing too is, I'm not much of a street fighter. I don't get into shit like that. I've never been one to do that stuff. But if someone put their hand in my face, the last thing I would do is slap their ass, for sure. And that might just be a thing for him. But it told me that he didn't know what to do, and he kind of panicked a little bit and tried to like look aggressive and look cool, but like didn't know how to handle it.
Right.
And the question becomes, he's wearing big gloves for this fight compared to what Ben's been getting hit with when he's fought tough guys like Robbie Lawler and Douglas Lima, stuff like that. You know what I mean? And first of all, Ben finds a way to win, and he finds a way to not get hit. The knee's a freak thing. We can't take that into consideration, especially in this fight. So what happens if he can't knock him out? Now, I do think he has the ability to land a punch. I think he's powerful, and he could knock Ben out. There's a possibility it could happen. But I think Ben's going to have the cardio and at least the mental fortitude from his, who he's fought, how many times he's fought, his Olympic, background, his wrestling background. He's going to be stronger mentally that when his body does give out, he's going to continue on. He's not going to break down. And if it comes to a point where he gets just as frustrated or confused, like when Ben just put his hand in his face, what's he going to do when Ben is clinchy on him, wearing him down, grinding him out? and gets him panicked in the fight. So that made me also think, like, if Ben fights a smart fight, he could easily win this fight, even though it's not, I think, going to be a pretty fight. It's not going to be a boxing fight, but I think he could definitely, because all Jake can do, as his fight gets longer and longer, is question himself. I mean, he's never been against a real fighter. He's never been the distance. So he can only, and you only get confident when you've done those things. As a fighter, when I was coming up, I never got confident until I accomplished certain tasks during the fight, till I lasted the whole time and I sucked it up and I dug deep, or I got big knockouts against guys I didn't think I could knock out. That's what built my confidence. It wasn't guys around me telling me you're going to do this and you're going to do that. You have to figure that out on your own. So I have to assume he's going to be very confused if he doesn't knock him out, and it could cause panic and it could cause him to decline in the fight.
Yeah, Ben's been there so many times. Like, yeah, I'm really, honestly, like, I hope Ben wins, but at the end of the day, I don't really have a dog in that fight. So I just want to see a good fight, but I really want to see Jake's face, like, getting drug into some deep rounds. Yeah. And
that's a good test.
He's fairly new in the sport. So, like, he's learning boxing. Like, Ben doesn't box. So, like, he's going to throw a jab and expect Ben Askren to react a certain way. And he's not going to. He's gonna throw a body shot and he's gonna want to roll under the left hook that's coming, but it's not coming. So I don't know what he thinks he's getting himself into, but it's very different. Again, like you said, he could go in there and catch Ben and put him down, and maybe Ben's chin is shot and maybe it's not. But I won't use the Masvidal knee against him, because anybody's gonna go down to that. So, and he took every shot Robbie Lawler gave him.
Yeah.
So
brutal.
I mean, if you can look at that as, oh, Ben got his ass beat by Robbie Lawler, or you could look at it as,
he didn't get knocked out.
That dude took every shot from one of the hardest hitting hammers in this sport and still ended up winning that fight.
Yeah.
So I don't think for a second that Jake Paul hits any harder than Robbie Lawler does. So especially with the bigger gloves.
Yeah.
And Robbie Lawler is a better boxer. I mean, what would Robbie Lawler do to Jake Paul? Like, that's what I try to tell people. Like, he did, Robbie Lawler did beat his ass, but what would Robbie Lawler do to Jake Paul? Yeah. He would murder that kid.
Absolutely.
So Ben was in there on his feet with him the entire time that whole flurry was going, and still got a W. So I'm excited for Ben. Again, he's one of those guys. I hope he's getting paid well. He kind of got the short end of the stick, got to the UFC late, had a couple tough draws and didn't really go his way. So I hope he's getting a big old fat paycheck. And he's getting some shine. Ben Askren always finds a way to the spotlight somehow.
Yeah, even after he's retired. Just real quick on this one, though. Logan Paul, Mayweather, what do you think?
It's Mayweather trying to get paid.
That's crazy, right?
Take a loss. Yeah, it's a smash match.
I mean, I think that the Jake Paul fight versus Ben Askren is at least a fight I'll watch, and there's a good reason to watch it. But I mean, the Logan Paul Mayweather, it's like I don't even really care that much.
No, I won't even watch it.
It's kind of silly. Yeah.
Real quick with Mike Swick.